Welcome to Court of the Crane, where we explore the hidden histories, legends, and symbols that shaped Korea's past and continue to influence its present. Today, we'll be exploring the fascinating world of tiger and magpie paintings, an iconic art motif from the Joseon dynasty that continues to echo in modern Korean culture, even in today's pop music, drama, and films. Why a tiger? And why a magpie? What do these two unlikely companions reveal about Korean history, identity, and imagination? To understand why these two animals captured imaginations for centuries, we first need to step back into the world of the Joseon dynasty. Let's begin in the Joseon dynasty, which lasted from 1392 to 1897. This was a society deeply shaped by Confucian values, from politics and education to family life and ritual. And yet, when it came to art, Joseon allowed room for play, satire, and even rebellion. Joseon art blended Confucian order with shamanistic guardians, Buddhist spirits, and centuries-old folk belief, all of it bubbling into minhwa. One of the most beloved and endearing forms of folk painting, called minhwa, captured this blend of influences. Among its many subjects, two figures appear again and again, the tiger and the magpie. At first glance, they seem playful, even humorous. A tiger with a slightly ridiculous expression, and a magpie perched above, chirping boldly. But the whimsy is deceptive. Beneath it lies sharp social commentary, layers of spiritual meaning, and a reflection of Korea's cultural identity. And at the heart of these folk paintings, two unlikely co-stars took center stage, the tiger and the magpie. The tiger is one of the most enduring symbols of Korea. For centuries, tigers roamed the mountains and the forests of the peninsula. They weren't just mythical figures. They were real and sometimes a terrifying presence in daily life. But in folk paintings, the tigers often look anything but fierce. Instead of majestic, they're awkward. Its eyes bulge, its body twists, its face almost looks comical. Why? Because in these works, the tiger symbolizes the Yongbon, the ruling aristocracy. And by painting the tiger as goofy or ridiculous, commoners found a safe way to poke fun at authority. It was satire disguised as folk art. So the tiger occupied two roles at once, a powerful guardian to be respected, and a foolish caricature to be laughed at. It embodied both fear and ridicule, protection and parody. But satire works best with a foil, and for the tiger, that foil was a much smaller, much louder companion. So if the tiger embodied the mighty, who spoke for the people? That role belonged to the magpie. In Korean folklore, the magpie is a joyful messenger. If you heard its chatter in the morning, it was believed to signal good fortune or the arrival of a welcome guest. In these paintings, the magpie usually perches on a branch, chattering down at the tiger below. The symbolism is striking. The small but clever bird challenging the mighty beast. Where the tiger represents power and authority, the magpie represents the voice of the people, cheerful, persistent, unafraid to speak up. Seen together, the tiger and magpie become more than just animals. They form a conversation. The strong are humbled by the small. The mighty are mocked by the common. It's a visual reminder that laughter, wit, and community can balance even the greatest of powers. Together, these two creatures aren't just storytellers. They became talismans, carrying blessings and warnings into homes across Joseon, Korea. These paintings were more than decoration. They were alive with spiritual meaning. Many Joseon families believed that a tiger and magpie painting could shape the very energy of a household. The tiger stood guard, driving away evil spirits. The magpie brought blessings, joy, and prosperity. Hung together, they created harmony, a balance of protection and fortune, fearsome power, and cheerful luck. These paintings drew from every corner of Korea's spiritual life, from shamanism's mountain guardians to Buddhist temple spirits, to Confucian ideals of harmony. From folk belief, the painting became a talisman, especially powerful during the Lunar New Year, when families hung them on gates to clear away bad luck and welcome in good fortune. And of course, there was humor. In many works, the tiger was drawn cross-eyed, bumbling, or almost human-like, a playful jab at the elite. The magpie, clever and bold, mocked the tiger, and through it, the ruling class. These paintings were both sacred and satirical, art that offered spiritual protection while also letting ordinary people laugh at authority. They weren't just hung in homes, they were cultural mirrors, reflecting how faith, humor, and everyday survival intertwined in Korean life. But as history marched on, these playful images grew sharper, especially when Korea itself came under threat. As Korea moved into the modern era, the meanings of the tiger and the magpie continued to evolve. What began as satire grew sharper. By the late Joseon-era, the tiger no longer mocked only aristocrats. It stood in for corrupt officials and eventually foreign invaders. During the Japanese occupation, the tiger took on an even greater burden. By then, the tiger was no longer just a beast. It was Korea itself. Proud, fierce, hunted, but never broken. Resistance artists portrayed the nation as a tiger in chains, or a hunted tiger cornered but unbroken. These images were quiet but powerful acts of defiance, a reminder that the Korean spirit could not be tamed. After liberation, the tiger lived on as a symbol of national strength. In schoolbooks, newspapers, and political posters, Korea was the tiger of the East, powerful, resilient, and ready to rise again. And the magpie never disappeared. It remained a symbol of good fortune and joy, still linked to the people's voice. Together, the tiger and the magpie endured as shorthand for Korean identity itself, fierce yet playful, protective yet joyful, rooted in tradition yet always adapting. By the 20th century, the tiger was no longer just a figure from folklore. It had become Korea's very spirit, an emblem recognized both at home and abroad. And even after liberation, the tiger and the magpie refused to stay in history books. They leapt into mascots, music, and the modern imagination. The tiger and magpie didn't fade away when the Joseon dynasty ended. Instead, they grew into national symbols that still resonate in Korea today. Think of Hidori, the Seoul Olympics mascot. Think of baseball stadiums chanting Tigers of Korea. Think of murals, logos, even government seals where the magpie still perches. And in pop culture, the imagery shines even brighter. In BTS's Idol and EXO's stage costumes, and in films like K-pop Demon Hunters, all keeping the tiger and magpie alive for new generations. The magpie, for its part, may not roar in stadiums, but its presence is everywhere. Chosen as South Korea's national bird in 1964, it still symbolizes good fortune, loyalty, and community spirit. On the screen, these motifs return with fresh energy in K-pop Demon Hunters. This film introduces Derpy Tiger and Sussy Magpie, characters directly inspired by traditional hojak-do paintings, with Derpy embodying power, humor, and mischief, and Sussy representing cleverness, hope, and the voice of the people. From stadiums to streaming platforms, from murals to music videos, these creatures carry centuries of meaning. The tiger still represents power, sometimes fierce, sometimes playful, while the magpie remains the cheerful voice of the people. And just as in Joseon times, their pairing continues to balance authority with wit, protection with joy, and tradition with modern creativity. So why a tiger? Why a magpie? Because in their laughter, their growls, and their chatter, they tell the story of Korea itself. Powerful yet playful, fierce yet hopeful. That art is never just art. A comical tiger and a chattering magpie carry centuries of meaning. Humor, resistance, spirituality, and national identity. The tiger is power, sometimes feared, sometimes mocked, sometimes loved. The magpie is the voice of the people, cheerful, persistent, and not afraid to call out authority. Together, they embody Korea's story in miniature. The next time you see one of these paintings, whether in a museum or on a Netflix film poster, remember that you're not just looking at folk art. You're seeing the heartbeat of Korean culture, echoing across centuries. When we look at the tiger and magpie together, we see more than decoration. We see how ordinary people in the Joseon dynasty made sense of power, danger, and justice. The same tension between authority and resistance runs through all the stories we tell on Court of the Crane. Just as the Joseon courts punished treason and rebellion with severity, the people found ways to respond, sometimes with whispers, sometimes with satire, and sometimes with paint and ink. Today, the tiger and magpie continue to perch on Korea's cultural stage, in mascots, music videos, and murals. But beneath the cuteness or glamour, their old meanings still flicker. Protection from harm, a yearning for justice, and the balance between power and people. Until next time, may your days be filled with the laughter of magpies and the strength of tigers.